Hello, and thank you for returning to another episode of the O Podcast, also called the Only Women Entrepreneurs Podcast. I'm Rosemary Cescolini, your host, former high school English teacher who became an entrepreneur in the manufacturing industry at a family-owned business called Royal Door Limited. For over 30 years, I built handmade custom wood doors for thousands of people nationwide. Our doors have been featured on HGTV, Netflix, and on the covers of countless construction and renovation magazines. It also has provided me with the unique opportunity to meet forward-thinking women in alternative careers, both in manufacturing and construction. Now, my new initiative is I Run O, an organization dedicated to empowering and equipping young women with the tools to success in alternative careers and the business world. Whether you're looking into construction or design, O is here to help you along the way. In this podcast, you'll learn about the journey of powerful women who have achieved huge amounts of success and discover the lessons and tools they've acquired along the way. In today's episode, it's a very, very special one for me, personally, because I have the pleasure of welcoming one of my longtime clients, Natalie Venalainen, Senior Designer for Home Interiors at Men at Work Design BILD. Natalie and I have collaborated on countless home renovation projects throughout the Greater Toronto Area. Working with experienced and accomplished female leaders such as Natalie have led to the completion of many projects along with very satisfied clients. Natalie's journey in the residential interior design industry spans an impressive 15 years, marked by a rich tapestry of experiences. She embarked on her design odyssey at COZ Design, where we initially made our first introduction, a boutique interior design firm in Yorkville. Later, her career path led her to another client of ours, Laura Stein Interiors, where she honed her skills, delving into the intricate details of high-end residential decor. She then became the first in-house designer for interiors at Men at Work, a testament to her expertise and vision in the field. Her work has garnered recognition and acclaim and has been featured in notable print publications like Reno Decor. She has also earned accolades from BILD, and that's short for Building Industry and Land Development Association, as well as NKBA, short for National Kitchen and Bath Association, including an esteemed place in NKBA's top 30 under 30 in North America in 2017. And that is a remarkable accomplishment for a rising star like Natalie. So Natalie, welcome to the Only Women Entrepreneurs Podcast.
Thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to meet with you today.
Okay, so Natalie, just to start off, I'd love to ask you, can you share with us some of your educational background and work experiences?
Yeah, absolutely. So having made my way into residential home design, specifically for interiors, I went about it in maybe an abstract way, I will say. I started back in grade 7, focusing on the visual arts. So everything from photography, drawing, painting, fashion. I was fortunate enough to go to a school named Colonel Carter Academy for the Arts. So from grade 7 to grade 12, you picked a stream and you focused on it throughout your whole career at that school. So I did that for all those years. Then you've got to decide what it is you're going to do for the rest of your life, right? And choose your university career. And it was at that moment where I said, oh, well, what is arts going to do for me for a living? Mm-hmm. I guess I need to go study business. That was just a mantra. That was what I thought I needed to do. So I applied. I got into University of Toronto's business program. Tried that for a year. Really didn't like it. I honestly don't know what I was thinking, having gone from several years of art to then switching focus. I was really great in math and science. I mean, there was really no reason why I couldn't continue. It was just not my passion. So I thought, okay, I'm going to go back to what I know, what I love. I switched into art history and studio. So studio, again, being hands-on art. And obviously I flourished. I loved that. But while I was continuing to get my BA, it was always in the back of my mind of, well, I've always wanted to do interior design. How am I going to get there now that I've invested so much time in this university undergrad? Time, money, right?
Of course.
So it was actually at the suggestion of my my partner at the time, now husband, who's actually in the recruitment world. He said, well, why don't you try going to Centennial College simultaneously while you finish your undergrad, learn AutoCAD, which is a drafting program for those that may not be familiar, and try to get your foot in the door that way. And so I did, and that's how I got my first job at COZ Design. A lot of design firms, they need juniors to help assist with the drafting, right? It's a big part of interior design. And I was fortunate. I worked with a really great colleague there. Her name is Jessica Cinnamon. She taught me a lot. And I mean, it's history now because I've learned everything on the job.
That's amazing. And it's wonderful that your husband was able to give you that direction, because I think that's what our young generation is missing right now in the education system. Someone to give them that direction, that guidance. And you also had the opportunity to do something hands-on, to test something before you actually engaged yourself completely in that particular line of work.
Mm-hmm. That is true. Yeah. Yeah. It's, I mean, I guess the traditional or the conventional path would be, okay, after high school, you go into an interior design program, right? Ryerson had one at the time. They still do. There are some colleges that do.
Right.
But there's so much to be said about learning on the job.
In your opinion, what are opportunities exist for women in home construction, home renovation industries?
I'd say it is common to see on the job sites a female designer or someone assisting in design, say in showrooms, suppliers. But I have come across female carpenters. It's rare, but they are out there. So I think it just depends what the woman feels most passionate about. If they want to be more hands-on on the tools, which is, completely cool, or if they want to be designing in 3D on the computer, or if they want to be project managing. I mean, that's a whole art form on itself, right? Mm-hmm. Keeping people on time, in line, budgets, finances. There's a lot of administration work on that end too. And let alone the client interaction. You have to have a certain temperament to be able to collaborate, handle, work with your clients, right, so that they feel appreciated, they feel in control, that they know that they're in good hands.
You put that beautifully, that there are many opportunities. It's just finding your passion. So if you're someone that, hey, I can't stand office work, I don't want to be sort of like isolated at home or in an office, and I want to work on site, you can become, like you said, a carpenter or an electrician, someone in the skilled trade. We only have, like, women make up about half the population, but we only have 5% of women in actual construction, and that's skilled trades. And that's not including women that are working in offices. This is actual physical engagement at the job site. And those are the numbers that we need to, I think, elevate, so that I think it would be a good balance, simply because women bring so many different viewpoints to the table in terms of design and construction. It might be our male counterparts could be stuck for a solution, and then Natalie just walks in and might say, hey, John, did you ever consider this idea or this solution? And he's like, holy moly, I didn't even consider that. So it's very important that we do elevate those numbers just for problem solving and making society just a better place overall.
Absolutely. I completely agree.
So you did mention about going to college and acquiring skills. So if somebody just wanted to, say, skip university altogether, what kind of courses do you think they should take in college generally to get them like a feel for something that they want to pinpoint, but they're not sure. They might say, oh, I want to go into renovation or construction, but I can't put my finger on it exactly. How would they proceed in finding something, a course for them, or planning their journey?
That's a really tough question. I think it applies to both college and university. I think maybe it's great if you know right away what stream you want to go into, but I think at, 17, 18 that kids these days are entering university. That's a really big question to answer at that age. So I'm a big believer in take a little bit of everything. Maybe not even just construction, just to open your eyes, because you might not know, you don't know what you don't know yet, right? Until you have a taste of it. So on the college side of things, same thing, but I would go so far to say, utilize your summers or your time off too, and get, if not a full-time summer job, get a part-time summer job. Because if you really want to know what it's like to do that career or be in that world, and you can make some money at the same time, apply for those jobs in those companies. That would be my biggest advice, not just on the school front, is get in there and see what it's really like.
And that's fantastic. And I think for our young generation, it could be a daunting task for them to approach employers and say, hey, would you mind giving me a chance, especially when you got a blank page for your experience. So do employers like Men at Work? Would they give an opportunity to summer students to maybe be shadowed by a mentor like yourself?
So we had several ambitious individuals, I would say, approach, sort of like find me or find the owner, craft beautiful intros, persistently follow up. It led to some sort of meaningful engagement, which led to employment. Again, this is kind of everything I've also learned from the recruitment side, just seeing it in the background with my husband's work. When a company is really busy, half the time they don't have time to even post for that position. They're just going, oh my God, I need this person. But they don't literally have the time to go do it. And then suddenly someone shows up in your inbox. Even if they don't have that experience, you're just like, wow, this person, maybe they're even offering to do it as an apprenticeship, right?
Of course.
Without pay, maybe. And I mean, that's cool. That's a great opportunity. Or maybe another arrangement comes up around. But I think a lot of people just get stuck on this idea, oh, there's no job posting, so there's no need. But that's absolutely not true. All three of my jobs I found in this method, there was no posting. I was just trying to reach out to companies that I wanted to work with.
Right. You know, that is really priceless advice, because a lot of people lacking the self-confidence will do what you just said. Oh, they're not hiring. They don't have any postings. But you know what? You have to be persistent. You have to be the one to take the initiative. And if you get no answer the first few times around, just keep going until you get that answer. I think that is valuable advice. And you're actually a proven case of it, right?
Yeah. I was not a believer when I first started. I was like, oh, is this going to go anywhere? But it's just that you're too busy to find someone. And then you're like a golden egg that has been dropped in front of this person.
Yeah.
Wow. I needed this person, and you've just saved me a month or 2 months of weeding through resumes, because you've just given me the information right in front of me. So
yeah. And because we're in similar industries, we're incredibly busy, like you said. And there are unique opportunities, and I'm sure you will find it. Just go out there and search it. So thank you for bringing that up. That's so important. Now, I want to just go back to your high school experience. Imagine you're going through the system again. like, I don't know how yours was. You're much younger than me, but I remember my time going through high school. No one told us about alternative careers. And I was just wondering if it changed during your time. And if not, like, what can the government do to implement some sort of program where not only young women, but also young men can say, hey, I don't want to go to university. Maybe I don't want to go to college. I just want to go straight to work. What do you think the government could do to encourage and, a younger generation to follow into these industries?
I was racking my brain about this memory. And I want to say that there was some kind of survey or questionnaire, maybe that was provided from the guidance department to try to help you figure out what stream, right, you were going to go in. Obviously, though, it wasn't, I guess, convincing enough. Otherwise, I would have made probably a different decision about university. So I would say sort of like a two-prong approach, or maybe three-prong approach. One, I listen a lot to Jordan Peterson. I'm sure a lot of your listeners do too. And he talks about this self-authorship program that he offers. That you can go through it to really create a vision for yourself, or just sit down, ask yourself these questions about where you want to go. And why we're not doing something like that in secondary school is baffling to me. I think that is a very easy thing that could be implemented. The second thing is, okay, I had an opportunity to go to maybe a more specialized school because they had the arts program. And then in university, because I made that choice with studio, I had an opportunity to work with tools in the workshop. I'm sure not every school has this opportunity, but even just that exposure, maybe it's not on in a mechanical sense, but more, this was in a studio setting that we got to use table saws and band saws, and just the comfort level of operating that, I think, is eye-opening. Because I think once a woman in particular gets her hands on that and maybe dispels this barrier that is in your head about, oh, that's not for me, it's pretty fun.
It is. Well, we used to call them shop classes, right? And home economics. And we would exchange between, the male and female students. And it was really, it opened my eyes and it got me interested in something that, like you said, because of these myths that, we can't do it because we're women, they get dispelled. And that's very important. That's an excellent point you brought up, Natalie.
So shop class. Yeah. Does it still exist across the board? I'm not for sure about that, but I would guess probably not, just with the several cuts that our education system has gone through over the years. So, and that's just even a life skill. You need to do repairs around your home. Right? Absolutely. It costs a lot of money to hire people. So if you are handy, it's just a win-win. And then the third thing that also, it's again a life skill that we just don't focus on in school, and it ties into entrepreneurship. Budgeting, like budgeting for your life. This stems into being able to have that mindset to budget for and plan for a business. So there's like three big things there that I think would make a huge difference to not just women, but to men too, as they're coming up through elementary school, secondary, and just feeling more prepared once they leave secondary, that I can make this choice not to go to university. Maybe I am going to go to college, do my apprenticeship, and feel confident that I'm going to run my own business. There's so much to do when you're running your own business. It's not just the trade skill that you have. Right. You have finances, you have marketing, you have communication, so much.
Yeah, the administrative side is kind of forgotten, but those last 2 points were definitely gold nuggets, in the sense that life skills are not being taught. And I know young people, they can't even change a light bulb. And if they have a picture frame, they can't hang it up properly. because if you don't put it, where there's a wood frame portion
A
behind the
stud. Yeah.
drywall, a stud, right? What's going to happen? It's going to fall, especially if it's heavy. So that's the first thing. And then the second thing, what you said is not showing the business side of entrepreneurship, which is finances. And that's why our society as a whole, the more than like over 90%, they have severe financial issues because they can't balance their budgets at home, and they're incredibly indebted. And it's with our interest rates that have gone up. A lot of people are struggling, and that struggle shouldn't be happening right now if we were taught how to balance your books. Like if I'm making X amount of money, I shouldn't be spending 1.5 times that amount. So figuring that out is so important. And I'm glad you touched upon that. And hopefully we'll be able to initiate the change and get that kind of life skills put back into the school system, so that it would be a great takeaway for younger generations.
No, I agree with you. I hope we got to speak about the change in order to create the change. So I commend you for doing this. I think it's fantastic.
Thank you. Thank you so much. But like I say to all my guests, I'm not able to do it by myself. I need a collaboration of society as a whole. And I'm so ecstatic that my sisterhood has accepted this invitation. And we're just going to keep rolling week after week until we get that strong message out. And thank you again for your participation. So I wanted to focus on the recent awards that you have received over your career, including the recognition from BILD and NKBA, including their top 30 under 30 in North America in 2017. For me, to get that kind of an award, that is a rising star. And that is really, for me as an older person, it gives me like hope, and it really inspires me to see someone like you just moving up there. And that's tremendous. And I want to know a little bit more about those achievements, if you don't mind sharing that with our audience.
Yeah, thank you so much for asking. So with BILD and the NKBA, it was fantastic. When I joined Men at Work, I was put on several projects, and the first 2 projects that I ever worked on with the company ended up winning these awards. So we did this beautiful rear kitchen addition. It won from BILD for best renovation. I believe it was between $300,000 and $500,000. Then we did this beautiful modern home. The kitchen won best modern kitchen, and was very fortunate to be collaborating on the home design with Keith O'Brien. He does a lot of work with Men at Work, and he creates these beautiful homes, these interiors that I have had the pleasure to sprinkle my designs on. And when it came to top 30 under 30, well, I guess this ages me a bit. So I was approaching my 29th birthday.
You just squeezed in.
And I was like, I came across this, and I said, well, if I don't try now, then I've been precluded just because I didn't
Correct.
try. So again, just like with the job applications, I gave it a shot. It's a quite lengthy application. So, I spent a lot of my personal time crafting the application. It goes into a lot of detail, not just about your design aesthetic, but a lot about what we're talking about, what impact you may have had on your industry at home, or the design community. And so I was honored to be named in that group that year, and I got a trip down to Florida to see the exposition that they do. They do in 1 year in Florida, 1 year in Los Angeles. Not Los Angeles. Nevada, I believe, is the other.
Nice.
Las Vegas, sorry. Las Vegas and Florida, they alternate. So that year I was in Florida, and I was just blown away at the size of the exposition in Florida compared to, obviously, what are the shows that we are able to attend here. But I understand, the U.S. is the U.S., Canada is Canada.
Right.
And I got to collaborate with a lot of colleagues my age from across North America. It was a really great opportunity. So again, I would encourage anyone, if you're in the field, you know about this award program, it never hurts to try, right? What's the worst that could happen?
Exactly. And I know I appreciate you, bringing in that initiative again, which paid off for you in this instance.
Yeah, and it was a fun trip. Got a free trip out of it, right?
Yeah. And I think just another resource that our young audience can learn from it is if they attend these trade shows, because we do too, we usually go to Europe, and they can run from 5 days to 14 days. And you can actually go there and learn so many different industries. And you can also ask, are you hiring? Are you looking for apprenticeships? And not only would you get that opportunity, but you could probably live in another country and pick up a trade. And then once you have that skill, you can actually live anywhere you want in the world.
That's absolutely true. Yes. That's a really great tip.
Yeah. Yeah. So I want to move on to, how do you balance the intimate nature of residential design where every detail matters with the client's preferences and vision?
Mm-hmm. Well, I do make it very clear to every client I work with at the onset of our engagement that this is your home. It is not my home. And so I'm going to do everything in my power to make your vision come to life. I'm not going to impose my personal aesthetics on you. I will guide you to what I truly believe is a timeless design, so that you're not renovating every 5 years, because who's got the time and money for that?
Correct.
That's my personal philosophy.
Yeah,
and I find that resonates with a lot of clients. And so I obviously will always give my honest opinion. It's too much. It's not enough. It's a design trend, not maybe so timeless.
Right.
And people really appreciate that perspective, because like I said, it's not my home. And I don't approach these projects because I am, in the back of my mind, aiming to meet that next trend story in a magazine, and it's got to look this way and it's got to look that way. And if it doesn't look that way, then it won't be considered. I mean, that's not the point of what we do, or that's not how I see it. And in terms of every detail is not too small, because that person will interact with that component in that home probably on a daily basis. So when we're considering how the touch of the door handle feels versus the scale of, for doors, for example,
yes,
right up your alley. I mean, right now I am detailing out interior doors. So the scale of all the rails coordinates with all of the interior trim. It has to have a harmonious proportion to it. Right. So
yes,
those are the tiny details that, we have to consider, which probably on the commercial side, I mean, I can assume, but just based on hearsay from other industry designers that work on commercial side, it's very different. They're probably not getting into those level of weeds on the commercial design side.
Could you give an example of a commercial design for maybe our audience that doesn't know the difference between the two industries? For us, yes, because, we live it every day. But, for our audience that maybe is totally unaware of those separate industries.
Right. Okay. So on the residential side, we're talking about someone's home. So they're a single family home, or maybe even a condo, right? It's purely home, family based. Commercial side would be a restaurant. It could be the condo lobby, right? Those public spaces, or even public buildings, offices,
right?
Those kind of spaces. Yeah.
Great. Thanks for that explanation. At O, we emphasize the importance of women tapping into their potential and overcoming obstacles. Were there any significant obstacles you had to overcome in your journey to becoming a senior designer?
Well, I mean, as I sort of alluded to at the beginning, my personal obstacle was the educational path that I started, right? So I had to sort of course correct to get my foot into the door of a design studio. And the certificate in AutoCAD really just unlocked that for me. Past that, as an obstacle, I would say, and this applies again, not just to our industry, but yeah, so when you're working in a male dominated field, how do you conduct yourself in a way that garners the respect that you need and deserve to get your job done, but is also collaborative, right? You're working with so many different personalities. Someone might just discredit you because of your age or your gender off the bat. You know, what could this girl know? She's so young. What experience does she have, right? And getting over that personally and getting past it. I'm a very collaborative person. Maybe some people say I'm too nice at times, but I have found that to be hugely beneficial in this industry because people want to work out problems with someone who is more calm, cool, and collected, and not going off the deep end about an issue. Because let's be real, problems come up every day. And if you're not handling it in a professional manner, you're not going to get anywhere. And people are just going to ignore you because they just don't want to deal with a rampage, so to speak.
And those are really important points to bring up. And yes, these are all male-dominated industries. In addition to what you said, with your approach, being calm and have that collaborative feel to it, it's also important to be a person that has either the skill and the experience to properly contribute to solutions to projects. Because if you go there and you don't know what you're talking about and you just ramble on and on and on, no one can really take you seriously. So it's really, really important to establish yourself as a credible and reliable source for problem solving.
Yes, and don't make up things. If you don't know, you don't know. And I found that when you ask a colleague who's maybe an expert in that, that goes a long way too, because you're turning to them as experts to understand better. It's a win-win situation.
Absolutely. I agree with that. Can you share a memorable project where you overcame a significant design challenge, and what did you learn from that experience?
So it's probably more common than not that a couple may have opposing design preferences. And so you end up not playing referee, but you're balancing the two desires and trying to create a unified, beautiful space. So I do recall a time where we had opposite design aesthetics. One was very contemporary, one was super traditional. And, how do you marry the two collectively so that the home doesn't feel disjointed and they both feel comfortable there, especially when they're investing so much time and money in this home. The conceptual design phase took a couple years. The build took over a year. I would say it was worth all that blood, sweat, and tears. I mean, it's a beautiful home. They're super happy. And I know they're going to be there for many years to come.
Right. Wow, that's great. That's very insightful. And what aspects of your career do you find most fulfilling, especially regarding the impact of design on people's lives?
From a very young age, I was always really affected by any mess around me. So my room was spotless. Every night I had to make sure my clothes are away in my room. Like the objects in my room were super tidy. And I remember, my mom's going to kill me, but I remember thinking, oh my gosh, Mom, clean up this, clean up that. And she would just say, don't worry about it. You focus on your space. And God, now that I'm a mom of a young daughter, I just feel so much empathy for, it's a struggle, right? To keep up on the the tidiness of the day-to-day, but sorry, going full circle. All this to say, your environment has such a big impact on how you feel. So when you're creating that design and you're learning about the person's lifestyle, most of the time you want to make the space easy to keep clean, whether it's like the materials you choose or storage designs, just to make it easy that you can declutter, calm yourself at the end of the day. I mean, that to me is the biggest challenge in residential design, and it makes the most impact on someone's daily life, because
right.
everyone wants to be in a calm, serene space because it helps you feel calm at the end of the day.
Great. That's, you know what? You made me laugh when you said you had to have your space. Incredibly neat. I'm the same way too. When I worked in the production area, we kept the shop so clean that you can literally eat off the floor, because it was tidy, everything was well organized, things were put into place, and that you always have government officials that come in to do various inspections at your workplace or even on job sites to make sure that safety is their top concern. And of all the people that I've encountered over the years, it's like, I've never seen a manufacturing plant this organized. And, they would ask us for this regulation or that regulation, and it would be in a binder, it'd be labeled, and they were in awe. And then our force is multicultural, right? So we would have it printed in all the languages to make sure that everybody understood what was going on, and that we work as a collaborative team. And that's part of the success of entrepreneurship, right? That organization is such key. And I'm glad that you brought that up too. I'm not the only person that kind of fixates on it.
Yeah. And I mean, look, some people who maybe they're stretched too thin, they don't have the time to do that daily organization, because it does require daily maintenance, right?
Right.
But as much as someone would say, oh, it doesn't really affect me, I think it's just because they haven't had the opportunity and the privilege to be in that organized space, and they would feel so much better had they been working in an environment like yours. That sounds super organized.
It is. It is. And, but it's nice to see it organized, because when you walk into, I'll go visit some suppliers, or sometimes we go on sites, and we do measures and things, and you see the clutter, the disaster, and you're like, you got to, bend down because you might get hit by something. You got to kind of steer this way or that way to avoid another obstacle. I don't feel comfortable being in that kind of environment. And I'm pretty sure others that are working there on a day-to-day don't feel, safe or comfortable there as well. And it leads to less productivity, I find.
Absolutely. Yes.
In terms of financial security, how has your career provided you with opportunities, and what advice do you have for aspiring female designers?
So I think, you see it even on designers who have secured TV shows and whatnot. I mean, there's absolutely an opportunity in this career to gain quite a bit of financial security. And I think that a lot of that is mostly tied to entrepreneurship. So I'd say in my instance right now, yes, I'm definitely comfortable. The career has provided financial security. Is it a standalone thing? No, obviously with my partner, we've created our own security. But in terms of advice, you asked for advice for young women.
Yes.
I'm still learning, and I would say to find more opportunities to learn about entrepreneurship and what it takes to take that next step for yourself. Doesn't need to be through university, could be through apprenticeships or on-the-job experience or online things.
Right.
So it's really important to gain that experience, because again, you don't know what you don't know, and you can make some assumptions about how scary it is. And you need to break through those misbeliefs.
Right. And I think in terms of financial security, it really depends on what stage of life you're in. Like you are a young mother of a lovely little girl, and family for you and your daughter are your priorities. So you don't want to work 12 hours a day, 7 days a week. So you're prioritizing family over your career at the moment. However, when your daughter is older and more independent, I'm sure that you can grow your earning potential.
Yeah, no, that's a fair point. I mean, I underestimated motherhood. That's for sure. No one prepares you for that.
Absolutely not. Try 4.
Like you, I can't even imagine. So time, no one gives you back that time. So I'm just constantly conscious of this, and that I want to be as present as I can now, because she's already almost 3. It's like, where did those 3 years go already? It's unbelievable.
I know time flies, and you want to be home for those precious tender years, because in a blink of an eye, they are going to be finished school, working full time. And you're like, goodness, where did it all go? And they're like, yeah, bye mom. And they don't need you anymore. Right. And you lost that opportunity. That's something that you can't get back. And that's what I like about the endless opportunities in construction and manufacturing, where you can actually set your own hours, and you can work from home. And then when they go to school, and this has helped me out, I would be able to put them on the bus to go to school. And then I'd be home in time to escort them off the bus. So that's very important to relay that to young women, because some of them, they hesitate to go in these careers and say, no, I can't work like 70 hours a week. You set your own schedule, which is great. And then there's always that potential to grow in the future.
Right. Yeah. No, that's really important to highlight. And I think you can have a bit of everything, right? You can have it all, so quote unquote. It doesn't need to be, like you said, the 70, 80-hour work week. Right. It can be balanced, that you can achieve both things. Because I think variety is the spice of life. If you're sort of stuck in one avenue, you're always feeling like you're maybe missing out on the other side.
Right.
So it's wonderful to have both.
Absolutely. Now, how do you stay updated on the latest trends and innovations in the interior design industry?
I would say it really happens organically, just because I'm constantly looking and sourcing. So I don't necessarily have to do a lot of research, because I'm just in it on a day-to-day basis. You see it in the showrooms, you see it through emailers. I will admit, maybe I don't look at too much print anymore, just the way that the world is digitized. But and I mean, you can't overlook the power of social media, right? Everyone is on social media all the time. Images are just endless. So you pull a lot of inspiration from just scrolling down your feed, even in the evening.
Yeah, you do. It's actually overwhelming. We find that in the same industry. What are some emerging trends or styles in residential interior design that you're finding exciting these days?
Well, I would say it's cyclical, that trends they're coming in, they're coming out. Things that were popular 10 years ago. It's like the fashion industry, right? They're coming back in a slightly tweaked way. So, for example, flooring is just one example. The bleached floors, not so popular anymore. I mean, they're still happening, but their trend is going back to maybe a mid-tone, maybe even slight grays, which we saw like 10 plus years ago. Right. Wood kitchens, not white kitchens, just more earthy materials, even with the tiles, right? More soft pastels. There is definitely this step away from that white on white on white that we saw not too long ago.
Okay, so give me the insight on door trends. What are you finding? to see if my team is on top of that.
a beautiful front door is maybe not a beautiful front wood door. Let's classify is maybe
Right.
not in everyone's budget. But when it is, it's a showstopper, right? People are investing in that first interaction with the home. It's your first impression, so to speak.
Exactly.
And yes, and they're showing a lot more value in that. Even though the wood needs maintenance, right? That's just the reality of it. They accept it. And door on the interior side, maybe it's just with the particular clients I'm working with right now, more details, not just slab. That was, again, very popular a few years ago. They wanting to see that character back, maybe not super ornate, but it needs to have character.
Good. My team's on that. I'm happy to hear that. Could you describe a typical day in the life of a senior designer like yourself?
Absolutely. Why I love this job is that it's not just a desk job. And if it was just a desk job, I would lose my mind. I maybe start off with some phone calls. There's some site conditions that need to be addressed. Maybe some procurement questions that one of our assistants are helping with. We need to go over that. Some client meetings, some sourcing, some drafting. I mean, literally a little bit of everything. Don't get me wrong. There's some days where you're just troubleshooting all day, and that's with any job. But yeah, what I really love is the variety of tasks, and you're not just at your desk. You're physically on site, or you're physically going to look at some beautiful materials. You're putting together your presentation board with the materials for the client. I love the variety.
That's a great answer. And I like that too in our industry. Every day's different. I don't know what I'm going to create and who I'm going to meet. So it's always a surprise, which is, welcomed. It's not mundane for sure.
Yes.
Now I'd like to look into, say, client relations and conflict resolution. How do you handle a situation where a client's vision clashes with your design expertise, and what strategies do you use to find a common ground?
Well, my first strategy is often draft what they're describing. So if they've clearly, whether it's a layout, floor plan that needs to be tested to see if it really works. Maybe in your mind, already, oh, it's just going to be too tight or whatnot. It's not going to fit. But you have to remember that, again, it's their home. They probably haven't gone through this process before. They don't have the ability to use a program to test their idea. Right. So just test it, right? Go through the process. I typically always do that because I might be proven wrong, or it will clearly illustrate the problems with the concept.
So true. Can you share any stories of clients who are particularly thrilled with the transformation of their living spaces?
Oh boy. Well, so many, I feel like it. Let me see a particular one.
Or maybe the most recent that you could just, something that you did this year.
Yeah. So a project that was completed earlier this season, we didn't do any additions, which is common. We usually have additions and then you renovate. This was purely more of an interior renovation, and all the bathrooms were very outdated, too small. We worked on all those spaces, made a beautiful enlarged master ensuite. It's super bright. It's just more modern. I mean, bathrooms and kitchens where people spend the most money because your daily interaction, that has such a huge effect on your daily life. So this family of three, they're super ecstatic about the end results. And again, we didn't give them necessarily more space. We just tweaked their existing space, updated their finishes. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and I can attest to that. There was one project that we did in the city, and it was a bathroom rental, and they're actually spectacular. You just have to go on Men at Work's Instagram account. There was one which required a pocket door, and we created a really unique one where you had, normally there would be horizontal planks, which is a very modern type door. but they wanted it modified. So we did half with plank wood and then half with glass, which was a frosted glass. So that would allow light to come in, but also give the modern feel as well as great soundproofing. And I believe it's on your Instagram account. And I just absolutely love it. It's one of my favorite creations with you guys.
Oh, beautiful.
I wanted to ask you, because I know you're a very busy lady. How do you manage stress and tight deadlines in the world of, interior design?
Well, personally, I decreased my caffeine intake.
Excellent suggestion. Same here.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, everyone, what I learned over time was that everyone metabolizes caffeine differently. Maybe it doesn't affect you, right? So you can drink an espresso at 11 o'clock at night and hit the bed. Exactly. I'm not that kind of person. And so I learned several years ago that I was fighting myself by having too much caffeine. Just, again, take it down a notch. Everything is just calmer and clearer. So you can take that step back, reprioritize. And this is my own personal joke. I always say, like, we're not surgeons. We're not saving lives. Like, no one's dying.
Exactly. So your emergency can supposedly wait the next day, right?
Well, depending, whatever it is, I am so confident there will be a solution, and everything needs its appropriate attention.
Yeah, and I agree with that. The only emergency we have is break and enters, where you get a frantic call in early in the morning at 7:30 a.m. We had a break and enter. Do you have anything readily available? And usually it's a custom size, and no, but what's the size that you need? And, within 2 hours, we can produce something for them. And that's when we kind of we have to provide that service, because you know what?
Right.
Having a break and enter, you feel violated, you feel unsafe. And, it's something that we can't say no to, and we understand the situation. So that's the only time I really, really get stressed out, because I want to make sure that we're able to fulfill that client's need at that particular time.
Oh, that is a very good point. And I mean, I was speaking more so on the design side. I mean, our production team obviously has very different stresses that they deal with, like water emergencies. I am fortunate enough to,
I know, those are awful,
be shielded from that.
I know. So one of the fundamental values that governs O's mission is a collaboration and fostering community among women. Can you discuss the importance of networking and building professional relationships in your career?
Absolutely. I think it's very important for women to understand that their peer in the industry shouldn't be perceived as a competitor. Maybe they really are, right? Business-wise, B2B, they're technically a competitor. But as soon as you sort of drop that roadblock and you just start to look at them as a person and a collaborator, so many beautiful things can happen, right? That's where you find that sisterhood that you're creating here.
Yes.
Where you can lean on each other, where you can ask for advice. Maybe you even go so far as to create a beautiful friendship that, just goes beyond work. Now you have this beautiful, intimate connection with someone. So networking isn't just about business, right? It can fulfill so many aspects in your life. So I think I can still do better at networking, and certainly the COVID years didn't help anyone with networking personally, right? And there is something to be said about in-person gatherings versus these virtuals. It's definitely not the same thing. There's body language, there's just a bit better connection when you're in person, maybe even sharing a meal together. So it's not something that is maybe a nice to have, it's necessary. And the more and more you do it, the more and more you'll feel comfortable with it. It won't feel so daunting. You'll gladly accept going to maybe a showroom tour or a party, right, where you're going to just bump into more and more colleagues. It's you got to do it.
In closing, is there any last piece of advice for young women who aspire to enter the design industry or forge their own path?
Last piece of advice. The last piece of advice is You have to believe in yourself, because yes, you can be fortunate to have cheerleaders beside you. That's crucial. But you internally need to believe in yourself. And if there's that little voice in your head that is telling you otherwise, then you just have to work harder to kick that voice out, because it's doing you disservice and it's wrong. It's just a lie.
For our listeners who want to connect and learn more about you or your work, where can they go, Natalie?
So on Instagram, I'm Natalie_Venalainen. I just stick to the one platform, honestly. I'm not scattered everywhere.
Okay. Or they can go on your Men at Work website.
Yep, this is true. It's menatwork.ca.
Perfect. Only Women Entrepreneurs is dedicated to helping women grow and achieve new heights on their entrepreneurial and alternative career journeys. Explore all the free resources we have to offer at my website, onlywomenentrepreneurs.com, for content tailored specifically for women who want to take their lives to the next level. Here you can also find my personal development and business courses to help you on your journey. Whether you want to start a new business or you want to transform your personal life, O can help guide you every step of the way. Book your free consultation with me today. Connect with us on social media at Only Women Entrepreneurs to join the community of aspiring women who change their lives for the better. Only Women Entrepreneurs is here to provide the tools, resources, and inspiration you need to make your dreams a reality. Thank you so much for listening and joining us on this podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe so that you are alerted to our next episode when it launches. Thanks again, everyone.